Greetings. This is UAP. Just a short one this time. I'm going to cover a variety of topics, but mainly, if anything, they have to do with 1812. And so let's start with the New Madrid earthquakes. And I really don't like the pronunciation of that, since I always think of that spelling as being Madrid, Spain. But this is a marca, and we like to name our cities and burgs after European cities, but we change the pronunciation because there's New Madrid and then there's Versailles, Ohio, not Versailles. And there's, we even do it to ourselves because there's Houston, Texas, but there's a city or a town in Ohio called Houston. And there's another one in Ohio called Russia, spelled like Russia, but we don't have no Russians around here. Okay. Anyway, check this out. Now, this often gets associated with the 1812 earthquake in, the New Madrid area, but obviously they didn't have photography officially back in 1812. And so this is from a much weaker, much lesser earthquake in Alaska. But yeah, look at that. What the heck happened there? And how big are the people in the photo? I wonder. They seem pretty big. So the best we can get are drawings of the earthquake, which I've covered and other people have covered quite well. This is just a cross section of the soil showing a crack or whatever. And again, everything in the west was pretty much wrecked, destroyed. So I think there's way more to it. You were only allowed to go so far west, and the Mississippi was pretty much the boundary, wasn't it? So there's some interesting drawings from this dude, and I thought this was really cool looking. This is from a subscriber, so there's a lot going on here. The person on the boat looks big. Let's just leave it at that. The person on the boat looks huge, and this photograph is probably older, or I guess it could be a painting. It kind of looks like a painting, but it also is probably based on camera obscura. And maybe it's contemporary, but you could have fooled me, and it could be much older than the age of photography, which would put it closer to 1812 or before, or whatever year it actually is. So this Jose de Goya y Lucentis, and I don't know how many more names he has. The South Americans like to do that with lots and lots and lots of names, Spanish too. But yeah, it looks like a lot's going on there. It looks pretty sinister too. But he painted this, the Colossus 1812, and that would be a Titan there. So is this the closest we're going to get to a actual like photograph type thing of what a Titan was like? I don't know. That would scare you. Are these people shrunken, or are they just in a place that was meant for giants? I don't know. So here are what the Native Americans say about the 1812 event. And I thought it was interesting. One day the mountain gives lots of smoke, noise, earth trembles. The sun comes out every day, but one day the sun is not. And the person saying this is not stupid. He just doesn't know that much English. So it's broken English. How well do you know his tribe's language? So don't judge. He doesn't know why. So it kind of sounds like a volcano. The water's boiled. So here they talk about the Truckee River. Mountains rise and rise. So that makes sense, about the island of California. So where the Rocky Mountains are now, it was actually part of the ocean type thing, and then the mountains just rose out of that spot, and they just rose and rose in 2 or 3 weeks. The mud dries, all the water has dried. Perhaps little water remains. That sounds like some crazy geological stuff going on there. So, they called it a universal deluge, but I don't know that it was the universal deluge. I think it was like 1812. And, darkness caused by the eclipse of the sun, but they talk about it being all day or 3 days or, way more than an eclipse could be. Even 3 hours is way more than an eclipse could be, a total eclipse. The Peruvians recorded a great earthquake, eclipse of the sun, and the graves having been opened at a period which would nearly correspond with that of the crucifixion of Christ. I found that extremely interesting. They don't teach you that in school. Chuxicatl, I don't know if I pronounced his name right, records an event of darkness and destruction that happened at the same time that Christ our Lord was crucified. The sun and moon eclipsed, the earth quaked, and rocks were broken into pieces, and many other signs had been given to pass, although man was not entirely destroyed. So it wasn't the universal deluge. So if you do calendar adjustments, which I find interesting as well, then it corresponds to the time when our Lord was crucified. And that would also shut down the open lines of communication that were there that spread the gospel around the world. So the message was received. Historical records, Mesoamerican natives, aka Indians, were among the richest ever assembled of any people in history. They were accurate, reliable, voluminous, and seemed to confirm every single detail. They recorded a total solar eclipse that plunged the earth into darkness at the death of Christ. Boy, they really want to hide that, but here it is for you. And we have one of the prominent early historians got information from or about the Incas. So the apostles had passed through the land, and they're talking about Peru. Jesus said, go out to the whole world. And so here we have one of the apostles of Christ passing through Peru. That's amazing. They went a long time without seeing the sun, suffering greatly from its absence. Now, Peru. And then this was also extremely interesting to me. They said that when they went a long time, so after the time of going without sun, so that'd be after the crucifixion, they prayed and made offerings, blah, 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 for the light that they needed. And the sun came shining brightly out, and everybody rejoiced. And then afterwards, they say, along came a white man of great stature. And I've noticed this. I haven't said too much about it, but in all these depictions of like Jesus and Mary and the apostles, they're all like, it seems like they're 12 to 16 feet tall. And I'm not even exaggerating or anything. I mean, and it's very accurate because they depict like Mary like in a doorway, and then I don't know if they have the actual doorway there built into the temple or whatever near the painting, but it's showing her like standing in the doorway of this like cathedral or whatever it is, and then there it is right by the painting, the same doorway that's in the painting, and then if you look at it and size her up, then she's right there, exactly like 12 feet tall or something. And all the depictions showing like the Apostle Paul and St. Peter in Rome, like in the area of the Forum where they were buried and all that stuff, they were quite large because that stuff is still there, and they weren't like our size compared to it. They were like twice as tall. So yeah, great stature. The saints were huge, is what I'm saying. That's what I'm finding here.
En realidad esto no funciona. ¿Habéis probado? ¿No debería ser un poco más? Así. Sí. ¿Mejor? ¿Qué os parece?
And then these are just screenshots sent to me by a subscriber. He was watching the movie Amadeus, and it shows the Salieri and all these yuckity yucks bopping around in Vienna. The doorways are really huge, and the thing was the handles are really high, unnaturally high, along with the ceilings and everything else. But it's just, they're not sized for people like us. They're sized for giants. And the only thing I thought of was, well, maybe it's like child-proofing, you know. But heck, the child-proofing almost works on Mozart himself. So it's fascinating, to say the least. Yeah, it seems odd to have to reach up that high to a doorknob, you know. And they seem a little dainty, but they may not be, you know, originally like that. And I've been in buildings with that stuff. And then I found this from a TED Talks. The guy talked about the lost white tribe and how they were white Africans. And the whole point of it was that it was rumored there were white people all over the earth. But then the whole talk seems to seek to quash the rumor. So I just found it interesting. Now, these photos are from a subscriber. Nobody else has seen this. These are something, well, bought on eBay. And these photographic plates have some anomalies. He said that some judge and historian in Washington, D.C., where he lives, took great interest in these photos, having seen something or another in particular, and they wanted to have it for a while. So I don't know if or what they did with them when they had them, but they took great interest in these. Now, these photos are from before they got their hands on it, and they're photographic negatives. So I adjusted it to the positive print that you're seeing here, and I also adjusted some contrast and things so that it brings out some details. So if you guys see anything, let me know. I saw a few things, but I'm not going to mention it because I just want to see what you guys think. These pictures also are from subscribers. These are Tartarian bricks. You know, the columns, it's kind of a Mandela effect. Like, we all think of these columns as having been solid stone, but they're not. They're bricks with like stone over top of them. So, and just for a little bit lightheartedness, reality, yeah, it's the worst game ever. So I'm glad you're here to having a fun look at reality, I guess. Trying to make a game of it, better game. Affirmation. Instilling the self-confidence kids will need to carry them through all the failure they'll experience because they weren't taught competence instead. It's kind of funny, but actually, you know, competence can get you in trouble just as much as anything. Motivation. Every corpse on Mount Everest was once a highly motivated person. So for those of you who want me to be like a super hard truther and not to goof around and to get in there and take everything seriously and just go after the elite and just go for blood. Just got, you know, hey, all right. You know, I understand. I know you're right. But you don't want to be dead right. You know, I always say it's like, you know, I am a defensive driver. If the light is green and by rights, I have every reason to drive through that green light. No problem. I still look and see if anyone's coming because I don't want to be dead right. Not everybody follows the rules and that type of stuff. And so for all practicality, self-preservation is an important thing. It's not fear and it's not weakness. It's strength, because I want to be around for the war to win it. I don't want to lose the war to win a battle. You know what I mean? Be the bridge. That way we can all walk over you on our way to better places. So yeah, I don't want to be a sucker either. So that's why I'm into the truth movement. And, you know, there are plenty of fish in the sea, but that doesn't mean, that, sometimes you feel like that with the truth movement, that, the law of averages or whatever is like, okay, people are going to go along with this eventually, but, as long as you're viewed a certain way, you're going to be a little different. It is what it is. Potential. Not everyone gets to be an astronaut when they grow up. Well, you wouldn't want to be one anyway, but one of the things I'm trying to do is trying to convince this nonsense to stop so that kids don't get these ideas in their head of trying to be like that. Achievement. You can do anything you set your mind to when you have vision, determination, and an endless supply of slave labor. So, yeah. Do you want to be a slave? Do you want to do achievements that could only be done with enslavement of people? No and no. So what's left? Well, something in between, something they don't sell you, something that I'm trying to sell you on, but I have trouble making it as attractive an option, but trust me, it's the better option. Mistakes. It could be that the purpose of your life is only to serve as a warning to others. Again, so that's why I don't go down the hard, dark road of truth, like I could be right, but it would be a mistake, I think, at some point where, you end up like this ship. I don't want that. So am I discouraged? Well, when there's nothing standing between you and your goal, but a total lack of talent and complete failure of will, I'm not that either. Some things are impossible. Get fake space and all the dreams people have about that is impossible. And they set you up trying to go after something you could never get to. And that is, well, the rat race, as it were. So, again, these are all truisms, nothing new. I just thought it was fun. Limitations. Until you spread your wings, you'll have no idea how far you can only walk. So sometimes it's better to dream than to actually try something. I've had tremendous success, but then I've had these kind of artificial out of the blue things that shut it down just when my momentum's going. So I was on the road to, it looked like I was going to be kind of a wealthy entrepreneur, and I was already getting started, and things, kind of unfair type weird things happen, one-off things, and now it's just like stagnation. So I hope it's not like this. I don't think that I'm like a penguin trying to fly, because I've already spread my wings, and it's like, eagle spreads wings, starts to fly, and then there's like a tornado or something comes along and you're grounded. That kind of weird, like, how could that have happened? Really? Never in my whole life have I seen that. So here's a little bit of music. This is just part of a video. The full video, I'm going to put it on Patreon. I also put the full video on my Vimeo channel, which has started, and I only have one video on it, and it's the full version of this, but here's the juicy bit. Enjoy, and I will catch you next time.